What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Couple Things,
With Shawn and Andrew.
a podcast all about
Couples
and the things they.
go through.
That's not how we do it.
No.
Why do we keep doing this?
Why are you looking at the side of my face and not my eye? What? You're not looking at me in my eyes.
Because you have glasses on.
For those watching on YouTube,
Bro.
apologies in advance. You listening can't see this, but my eye is atrocious. We have filmed several YouTube videos with a situation like this, but I get these gnarly styes.
This might be the worst one, baby.
I agree. So I'm just going to put these on, and I wore a cowboy hat just to, amp up the ridiculousness. But I'm excited for today's episode. Enough about me.
Yes.
Enough about me.
You guys have requested this episode for a long time. It's something we've talked about a lot, which is our vision casting. We talk about once a year, we do this big, not a retreat, but we take at least one full day to go to a coffee shop or a hotel or whatever to get away from life and sit down and reflect on every single category of our life, kind of dissect it and make goals and lifestyle changes in writing for how we wish our life looked. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
A year from now, this is how we want our life to look.
Yes.
We've been doing this now for 5 or 6 years, and we did an episode on it 3 years ago, and we got a lot of positive responses. I remember when we went on tour, was that 2 or 3 years ago? A lot of people brought our goal setting episode up as being impactful. We wanted to revisit it since we've been doing it for a couple more years, and I think have tweaked our approach and perspective towards it, and more things have been included in our life, and thus our goals have kind of changed. So we'll talk about our personal goals as well.
Before we dive into all of it, make sure you check the notes section of this episode because we do have a free, downloadable vision setting chart that you can download, and it will walk you through everything that we're going to talk about.
Yeah. We're loosely calling this method the East Family Vision Casting method.
Did you come up with that?
No, I just read that from this. Thank you. Thank you, Jenny. But we really are passionate about this. I feel like this was a tangible turning point in our life when we sat down with a couple of our mentors, i.e. Josh Axe, Jeremy Bloom, and got insight into how they achieve things or how they've, become the people they are, have built a community and gotten involved in meaningful ways in organizations, businesses, built businesses. Anyway, how have they done that? And it's intentionally is the answer. So I don't think we're very intense. A couple of our mentors are super intense and very sharp with their focus.
Yeah.
We're kind of just chill. I think we're more
It's
chill.
a loose guideline.
Yeah, we like to have an endpoint. I think.
Can I tell them about the first time we did this?
Please.
So I will never forget the first time we did this. We were living in Ashburn, Virginia, in Gabby and Dustin Hopkins' basement. Andrew had just gotten a call from the Washington football team, and we had been bouncing around the NFL. I wasn't working at the time. I think I was pregnant.
Not yet. That was 2018, December 2018.
Oh, yeah. Maybe I got pregnant there. Who knows? Too much information.
Not at the coffee shop, I'll tell you that much.
You didn't laugh at that, so I had to backtrack. But we were in Ashburn during the new year, and I feel like I think we got an email from your dad where he had encouraged everyone in the family to do annual goal settings, but in a very extensive way that year. It was philanthropy. It was fitness goals. It was so many things. He's fill it out as a family and send it back. And it kind of sparked this idea of ours. I think, I don't want to speak for both of us, just for myself, but I think we were kind of in a phase of life where we felt like we needed some change. We felt like we weren't sure about the NFL. We weren't sure about, I was talking about going back to work and what would that look like. We were talking about YouTube more seriously. We had a lot of different things. We still had our house here in Nashville, but we were bouncing around. We didn't know where to live. There were a lot of unknowns in our life and we didn't feel like anything was concrete or that we were working towards like a singular goal. So we said, let's do this in a super intense way and write out what we want our life to look like in 10 years.
Yeah. There was a lot happening, a lot that we wanted to happen, including pregnancy, new house, the NFL dream had just been achieved.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we were in Virginia. And then so it was kind of this what's next type of question. And we also had, we were fortunate to have a couple opportunities that we needed to thoughtfully consider because we could do one or two, but we couldn't do all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really just stepping back and coming up with some operating system for making it easier to choose A or B and not, feeling like it was a high friction exercise. So background on this, I actually found an email from myself from 2011 because, as you said, my dad was big into goal setting.
Yeah.
He would pay us $20 each if we submitted our goals to him.
That's
this
awesome.
was like in high school, and we'd have to print out the piece of paper, give them to him. He loved it.
Wait, I actually love that as a parent.
Yeah, it was great. I would recommend it.
Yeah.
So I'm just recalling this live. I actually haven't thought about this, but he would have the SMART goal system. So it's like something that's measurable, achievable. I don't know. What does that stand for?
Respectable?
No, let's look this up. SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Okay. I haven't heard that for a while. And it was always an overwhelming process for me to try to go through that. Like, what categories do I make goals in? How do I know that they're achievable?
Mm-hmm.
How do I make them measurable? So this email from myself in 2011, I had started sending SMART goal templates out to some of my friends to like encourage them.
Oh my gosh. In 2011?
Yeah. I haven't thought about this. And then I kind of took like a 5-year hiatus from goal setting just because I was stumbling through college. But fast forward to 2018, Shawn and I have this conversation in the coffee shop, and it began the process of us shaping this system that did make things measurable, that did make things achievable, that did give it a tangible timeline. Because you think about all those, the SMART, it's like, I don't know what's achievable in a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the beauty of this is, and if there's one thing you take away, the more you do this, the more you'll understand how much you can achieve in a year.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
Yeah.
You'll start to see the increments that you make over the course of 12 months, and it's unbelievable. So start now recording your goals, and hopefully this episode, take from it what you will. I'm not saying do this exactly like we do, but we have a template, we have a method, and for us, it has really benefited our life.
I will add too, I will never forget when we sat down that first time. I'm trying to find words, so stick with me, listeners. When we sat down to do that, all I could say is like there was this unsettling feeling between the both of us. We both wanted something out of life, but we didn't know what it was and how to write it down. And I feel like a lot of times we can so easily just be caught up in the put one foot forward, just keep going. You kind of look, you let time go by and 5 years go by and you look back and you're like, what happened? Like, why am I living in this house? Why am I still in the city? Why am I still at this job when I'm not happy with it? And it's so easy to kind of get lost in the mundane that you forget you actually have things that you want to do.
Yeah. So it's kind of like working on your life instead of working in your life.
So when we sat down for the first time, I remember we were there for like 6 hours, 7 hours. We wrote everything down with a pencil on a piece of paper, individual pieces of paper. And we literally just put it into categories, which we'll give you. And we said, in 5 years and 10 years, what do you want this to look like? What do you want to still be doing? Vice versa. And I'm going to jump to the end real quick. What's been really cool is to look back at the past 6 years we've been doing this. We've fine-tuned our life so much that every year that we do this now, it's tiny little changes that we want to make instead of like drastic ones.
Which is really peace enabling, I feel like.
Yes.
It's really it's really beautiful to not have this thing that you really want but can't achieve, it's like, no, yeah, we could definitely do this. And I think it's a little bit of, being content in all situations. It's a little bit of knowing what's enough. And it's also just a practice of, being intentional.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp.
I don't know about you, but I feel like time is flying by, especially now that we have 3 kids. There's still so much I want to do this year as a family and personal goals I want to reach. So I've been trying to be more intentional about making it all happen. When life goes by so fast, it's important to take a moment to celebrate your wins.
I agree. Our weeks have been flying by. So we've been trying to pause and make adjustments for the rest of the year. Therapy has been really helpful for that. It can help you take stock of your progress and set achievable goals for the next few months.
Shawn and I have been pretty open recently about getting back into therapy, and it's been a game changer. We've learned so much about each other, and there's so much personal growth that's happened already. I would highly recommend therapy to anyone that's considering it, and BetterHelp is such an easy way to make that happen.
If you're wanting to give therapy a try, BetterHelp is an amazing option. It's all online, so it's really flexible, and you never have to worry about driving to appointments. You can switch therapists at any time, which is great because they really want you to find a therapist that is the perfect fit for you. We highly recommend therapy to anyone and everyone, no matter what season you're in.
Take a moment. Visit betterhelp.com/EastFam today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/EastFam. Last thing I'll say about this before we've been talking around how we do this process. Yeah. And my last philosophical add in here is people talk about freedom all the time, and they want financial freedom, and they want travel freedom, and time freedom, and freedom to do what they want. But it's kind of paradoxical that the way most people spend their free time when they have it, is scrolling through Instagram mindlessly or screen time, right? And a lot of times we don't know what to do with our freedom. So, people ask us, do you feel like you're taking the whimsy out of life when you're so rigid and structured with your time? And my answer is, I would rather over-index and over-structure on intentionality than hope that whimsy happens, right?
Yeah.
When we talk to our musical friends, Ben Rector, or even, John Williams, the composer, he's not our friend, but would like him to be. They talk about how creativity is not some magical thing that happens. You structure it.
Yeah.
Ben sits down and practices every day. John Williams writes a piece of music every single day. And through that practice, the beauty of, a mass record hit develops. Am I...
Yeah, your passion is palpable, and I love it. You're getting more intense, and I'm like, he's coming out, baby.
Well,
it's only through the repetitive passion of practice that we're gonna get there.
Well, I know that I am the type that so easily could sit on the couch and do nothing.
Same.
And then, but I also have these ambitions, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, hey, let's actually work on being intentional. It's important. And I talk about the difference between having a date night that's, dinner and a movie versus Netflix and chilling. The difference is the intentionality. And it's like going to a movie on date night and putting that on the schedule and buying the tickets ahead of time. You have the anticipation. You have that is so joyful than the other Netflix and chill, which is like escapism, mindless, non-intentional. You stumbled into it. You don't know what you're looking forward to or if you'll be able to find it. And right, I think that's an analogy to life.
I will say, I feel like if you are listening to this, you're probably getting frustrated with us by now. You're like, but how?
You want me to do
what? But how? Trust me, we're gonna get through. We're gonna get to it, and it's gonna make sense because even my mind is still blown, guys. When I get to this annual goal setting and I look at where we started, we didn't do anything like wild. It was tiny little things. It's amazing how big of a difference it makes over the course of a year. Okay, let's get into it.
Okay.
No, don't pull up the first one.
What? No, I'm pulling up our goals.
Okay.
I know that was obnoxious preface to this, but it's important so that you understand how we approach this.
Yes.
And also our personality types. It's not like we are not type A. You're type A. You're
I'm
type
type
A.
A.
I am
I'm
like,
type A.
I am, the type that
Go with the flow.
doesn't always show up to things on time. So I think this speaks to a broad audience.
Okay.
I'll stop.
Here are the ABCs. This is how it works. So when do we typically do our vision setting? It does not matter when you do it. We do it at the beginning of the year.
Yes. Probably a week before the year ends or a week after the year ends is our rough window.
I also like that period of time for us because within our personalized workspace, which is more like the marketing world, usually the marketing world takes some sort of a hiatus, a dip at the end of December after Christmas through January. So it's a good time for us to kind of like reflect on things.
Yeah.
But you can do it whenever. We just do it same time every year.
We have 3 kids. So for us, the realistic time that we're able to spend on this is like a working day.
Yeah.
So we'll still go out of the house. I think it's important to choose a different setting that, when you're in a coffee shop, you have a different thoughts and kind of a different approach or like levity to you than when you're in the house where you live every day.
Yeah.
So choose whether it's a coffee shop, a park, wherever that's not your normal habitat. I think that's important. I know friends that take, I think it's a 2 or 3 day vacation to like a Caribbean island and will do some iteration of this.
We don't do that. That sounds nice.
It's not realistic.
But it's not realistic. And also we were on a vacation towards the end of the year one year and we were like, should we do our goals? And to me, it didn't feel like the right time because I was like, on vacation, I want to relax and not be like,
I remember that.
overworking my brain to the point. Yeah.
That annoyed me.
I'm sorry.
But
It annoyed me too.
Okay. So we're in a different location.
Yeah.
The other thing we do is we pray together. Shawn and I, we pray together, but it's usually like, morning and evening prayers. This is whatever, maybe like 5 minutes that we just sit and hold hands. And it's like, I think that's important to actually bring God into it and have him be a part of these goals. I think that's crucial because I don't want to get to the end of my life and say, oh, well, dope, I accomplished all of these things that I now see are meaningless because they weren't part of a bigger plan.
Yes. Is it just Andrew and I that are part of it? So these are a lot of questions you guys have submitted to explain how we do this. That's what we're reading off of. For now, it is just Andrew and I. We do foresee a time when this will graduate. We'll still do our goals, but then we want to be able to do these with our kids, like personally. And I kind of foresee us doing that one-on-one with each kid and then as a family.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. It's a really unique way to get to know somebody else too, is we really try to just say, hey, run wild with this. If you have an idea that you want to put on this, go for it. Because if Shawn has a goal of whatever, traveling the world, I want her to share that, Let's put that on there.
And then this one, I love. It says, does one person lead the agenda or do you work through an open conversation? No, an open conversation would never work with this because you would go down too many rabbit holes of ideas or like buts, I, you. It just doesn't work. You kind of lead it, but it's a formula that we've both put together that has to do with timers. Like we use very specific timers where you can't go over. And just like this step-by-step process to make sure that we both have room to speak, we have a specific set amount of time, and we know we're going to get through everything.
So let's go through those times.
Yeah.
I'll give you the categories first, and then we'll tell you the time blocks that we have. So we have how many different categories? 12.
We've also added categories since becoming parents. So you can take some away or add other ones too.
The other thing is there will be overlap with some of these categories. It's fine. The goal with the 12 categories I'm about to give you is just to hopefully spark thought of, oh yeah, I never thought about, household things, but now I want to put XYZ on that. So the 12 are family, marriage, finances, travel, friends, health and fitness, philanthropy, home, faith, business, personal, kids.
Yes.
So listening to that, you could probably say that, oh yeah, business and finances there's probably gonna be some overlap goals. That's totally fine. It actually helps sharpen what each of those are. So with those 12 categories.
So this is, if it's your first time doing this, this is what we do. We pull out a timer on your phone and you set the timer for 5 minutes. You get your piece of paper ready or your document on your computer and we say, okay.
Wait, we skipped a step. The review.
No, because if this is their first time, there is no review.
Okay, you're right.
So if this is your first time, disregard that. Pull out a timer, pull up the very first category, say it's finances. And you start your timer and you say you have 5 minutes to write anything and everything you can possibly think of for what are your goals in finance in the next year. That could be spending, income, anything.
What you want to invest.
Yes.
Dollar-wise or percentage-wise, what you want to give away.
Do you want a new credit card? Do you want to pay off a credit card? Do you want to pay off debt? Do you want to buy a car? Do you want to buy a house?
Restructure
anything
loans.
that has to do with finances. So you set the 5 minute timer. You don't have to use the whole 5 minutes, but you just let the 5 minute timer run out. As soon as it runs out, you're done. Okay?
This is really helpful. The time block, I don't think everyone will like, but for us, it was crucial for us to have that window. It's almost like, you know what you want when you flip a coin and it's in the air.
And I feel like when you start letting it seep over the 5 minutes, you start to get into such nuanced things that they don't really count as like an annual lifestyle change goal.
For us also, it helps us move the thing along because like there's categories where you're not going to be able to spend the full 5 minutes dreaming.
And there's categories that you need like 20 minutes for, but you don't get that.
Right. So like for the blocks where you're not excited about it, it's a finite end to that like keeps the excitement up, I think.
So also, I don't know if this goes without saying, you guys are doing this separate. So Andrew has his own piece of paper or document. I have my own. I'm not writing goals like for Andrew. I'm writing goals for us, for myself, anything that I can think of, like individually. Does that make sense?
Which is really fun because, go ahead.
Then you go, once you finish your 5 minutes, you're like, okay, do you need a breath? Do you need a drink? Do you need to go to the bathroom? Whatever. Second topic, travel. Set your 5 minute timer, go, repeat. Family, go through all 12 categories so that you can see how like the time adds up. Right there, you have over an hour.
And it's good to go through all 12 because when you reconvene, it then allows each person to have dreamed their own dream without it being like, if we're on the third category and Shawn's already told me, well, that's not realistic, or I'm not on the same page as that, then it would tweak everything from there on.
Yes.
But when you go through each of the 12 categories in those 12-minute blocks individually, and then you come together and you go through each of the 12 sections, and we have a time block on that.
We usually set like a 5 minute timer as well, just like to keep it moving, but you don't have to. So after you get through writing everything down, and if 5 minutes is not enough or it's too much, you can also change that. But 5 minutes seems to work for us. As soon as we've gotten through the writing of it all, we go back to the top, go back to the very first category. And I'm like, okay, we choose who goes first. I'm like, Andrew or Shawn, tell me everything you wrote down in the finance department. And then I will share. And then we'll go back through it together and kind of nuance it so that if we have overlap, we know that's like a family goal that we want to write together and set aside as like an annual goal for both of us.
And when there's a difference, say she wants to invest 20% of our income and I want to invest 10%, then we compromise, which for us has been really meaningful. And this is why the discussion period is less, it's more loose on the time because there's so many conversations that are sparked as a result of this.
Yes.
Where it's like, oh, I didn't know you want to invest 20% of our income. Tell me about that. Well, my parents did it. And it's like, oh, and then I get to know Shawn better. So it's like a win-win-win-win-win. Obviously, if you're not married, that, the reconvening and the compromise isn't as applicable. But
it is also really cool when you're reviewing each category, whether you set a timer for that or not, but you want to like fully flush out his, yours, and then to like rewriting that together. It also tells you what each other's individual goals are. So within, say, the finance department, if Andrew wants to, I don't know, buy 5 of your friends coffee
Health
a
and
month.
fitness is easier. If
There you go.
If I want to drop 20 pounds.
Yeah. I know as a wife what I can support him with.
Yeah.
So if my goal is to go to Dairy Queen 3 times a week next month or next year, if that doesn't align for supporting each other, it shows us very easily either what we'll have arguments over or how our lifestyle is not going to align to support each other in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Our biggest arguments come from when there's a drastic difference in understanding of reality or expectations. Through this process, as we've gotten better with this, and again, it's taken 5 years, we have gotten so much more on the same page.
Yes.
And our goals have become so much more aligned. And it's cool to see on year 1, this took us, what Shawn said, hours. It took us 6 to 8 hours.
Because, not to interrupt, because when we went through the review process, we each had such drastically different visions of what we wanted our life to look like. Things that we had never talked about before. It took so much effort and time in a beautiful way for us to figure out how we were going to merge these lives together so that we both felt supported, happy, fulfilled, everything.
Yeah. And as time has gone on, the difference between her vision and my vision has shrunk,
Yeah.
which is, it's just so cool. And so now we're able to get through this in a short amount of time, though we still take the whole day.
Yeah.
Now, if you do feel equipped or you have done something like this before in any type of goals, there's an added step before you think about what you want to accomplish over the next year. And that is reviewing where you're currently at.
Yeah.
And so I put together a list of 120 things that we quantify loosely. I'm not every day going through this 120 point list, but it's things like, how often did you go to church last year? How many times did you go to church? How much money did you give? What percentage of your money is that? How many times a week did you hang out with friends? How many times, whatever, how many times a week did you work out? What were your major benchmarks? What travel trips do you want to take or did you take? How much, let's see.
These are all great things to put within your goals too. But within that list, when you're reflecting before you write them down, if this is not your first time doing it, you would go back through all of your categories and everything you wrote out last year. And you would say, our goal was to give 20%. We actually only gave 5%. How did you feel about that? Did that feel like a good amount? Was 20% over indexing? Did 5% feel good? Or could we do better this year?
Yeah.
And we kind of write our reflection of all of our goals to see how we did. Oh, we wrote down last year we wanted to go on 1 date night every single week for the entire year. How many did we actually get to? Which we can kind of go back and say we roughly got to 30 weeks instead of 52. Did that feel good? Should we, whatever.
Yeah. And so when we quantify it, just know that it is a ballpark, although that ballpark has gotten more and more accurate as we've been more and more intentional because we think about the thing more and more. It's like, oh, hey, we said we wanted to go on date night every Thursday. And so anytime we miss it, those are like very memorable, right? So we can say, we hit 48 out of 52 date nights last year. That felt like the right amount. We want to give ourselves some grace when it comes to that, right? But the beauty is once you've quantified all this, everything from like sleep to days away from home, days away from kids, whatever, we call that the debrief. Shawn just said reflect, where you mark all of these data points on the sheet. And then like she said, that makes the creating measurable goals step way easier. And also it's just founded on something. It's founded on your reality. Looking back on your year and data points for me is always super helpful because it's like, it just creates tangible benchmarks that are top of mind for me now. Like, I want to go to church every Sunday because I love going to church, but also I said I wanted to go 3 times a month at least, right? And then it also allows you to say, just like Shawn was saying, I want to tweak that number up from 48 date nights a year to 52. I actually want to do every single week and not have any that we miss, or tweak it slightly down. It's like, was that enough? What did that feel good? Did that feel bad? Do we need more or less of this in our life?
Okay, so today's episode is brought to you by Modern Woodman. We wanted to do something a little bit different because there have been so many questions regarding life insurance, and we wanted to get the answers you guys have been requesting. So we have brought in Leah White, Director of Enterprise Marketing and Communications at Modern Woodman. She's extremely knowledgeable regarding life insurance and how to break it down so it's not overwhelming for people to understand. On top of that, it was a really fun combo because she is from Davenport, Iowa, and we got to kind of fangirl over the Iowa Hawkeyes and Caitlin Clark. So without further ado, Leah White, thank you for joining us. Life insurance is kind of an intimidating thought. Let's start with, can you just tell us what life insurance is?
Yes, absolutely. And been there, been in that same position. And as a mom and someone who owns life insurance and believes in it, I can say that that's a pretty easy question for me to answer. Because for my husband and I, it was about making sure our kids have a bright future and every opportunity to have the future that we plan for them. So we can't control what tomorrow will bring, but we can make sure that we do some planning and we make sure that they have the funds there available to do the things that we want to do for them, regardless of what happens. So it can pay off the mortgage to make sure they can stay in that same house. It can help make sure they get to go to the same school. We can set aside money to help pay for college, to help for their wedding, all those things that as a mom, we hope and dream for. So that's what life insurance does at its core.
Where do our viewers, just taking it down to like the basics, where do they start looking for information on life insurance?
So one thing that I would really encourage you to start with is just think about all those things we pay for each and every month with the paychecks coming into our house. So for most of us, we have a mortgage or rent. Then you have utilities, childcare, groceries, phone. There's so many expenses. So tally up those expenses that you, for many of us, like it takes quite a bit of that paycheck every single month. And the thought of having one of them not there, that's what life insurance is about, right? So add up all those things. If you're a budgeter, you should have that list of expenses and start thinking about all those different things that you'd need to pay for regardless of what happens. And so once you have that together, you can use a life insurance calculator. We have one on our website. They're available really commonly. And I would go and use that because you can look at, how long do I want to cover this for? Do you want it for 6 months, 3 years? Maybe you want to cover that gap until your kids are out of the house. So it's unique to every single person, but use that calculator and talk to a financial representative. That's what they're there for. They can help talk you through those things.
And then it does seem like there's always so many different options available. So where do you start and how do you know which option is best for you? Like what type of insurance should you get?
No one has ever called into us and said, what type of life insurance did my loved one have?
Okay.
They just want to know that it's there, that it's going to help their family, and will it be enough? So really, something is better than nothing.
And then you kind of touched on this already, but the budget. How do you know, how does it fit into a budget? I feel like when you talk about life insurance, people think it's really expensive and it can't fit into their budget. Do you have options that kind of can cater to any budgetary plan?
That's an awesome question. And in fact, we have a trade association called LIMRA. And one of the things that we know is people, and especially women, overestimate the cost of life insurance by more than 3 to 4 times its actual cost.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And 54 million women are uninsured or underinsured. So that's a heck of a lot of moms out there who have absolutely no coverage.
What do we do? When do we review it? When do we change it? When do we update it? What are like those stipulations that we should follow?
So it's really up to you. I would suggest at a minimum once a year is a great place to start. It's also really important if you have a major life change. So if you move, if you get a new job, if you have a new baby, I know some of you just did, you should probably reevaluate to make sure that coverage still meets your needs.
Did you hear that? We should probably do that. Okay, so Modern Woman is a fraternal organization. What does that mean?
No one knows. No, fraternal is just a really quirky word for some really neat stuff. So we don't have stockholders. We exist purely for our members. So, and then as a member, they have access to not only these solid financial products and advice, but they also have access to educational, social, and volunteer opportunities. So for me, it was really important. I wanted to teach my kids how to give back. So they're involved in local chapters where we go and volunteer. In fact, last year in 2023, Modern Woodman members across the country donated one of their most important assets, and that's their time. We logged 250,000 volunteer hours across the nation.
That's amazing.
Yes, that's very cool. And by the way, we've been around since 1883. This is who we've been the whole time. This isn't some scheme. It's not some gimmick. It's just who we are.
It's really cool.
The last thing is just get started. Something is better than nothing. Life insurance isn't just about paying for funerals. You can do so much for your family. As you see, I'm really passionate about it. But it really gives you peace of mind. And for me, it helps me be the mom I know I'm meant to be, no matter what life throws at us.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Leah.
Thanks for having me.
I'm getting super jazzed up about this. I love this so much, you guys, because I'm type A and
I don't see you this excited that much.
love, it's my favorite thing we do. The other part that is really cool about this, especially if even if you are single, this is really cool because it gives you a really great way to plan out your entire year. Because in your mind, you could be thinking, I want to go on all these trips this year. But another goal you might write out, which is what we do. How many times do you want to hang out with friends a week or a month? We write that we want to hang out with at least a friend group once a week. But we also want to go to church every week. But we also have a date night that we want to do every single week. And we have 7 trips that we want to do. But there's also 7 family reunions, trips, vacations, holidays. So if you're following here, by the time you get through your entire goal sheet, you have all these quantifiable data points, but things that you want to squeeze into your year. It makes it easy for you to organize it and say, oh, well, the family 4th of July trip actually conflicts with the Olympics this year. So which one are we going to keep?
Right.
And it makes it so that when you get to that point in your life, whether it's in July or August or towards the end of the year, and you look back and you say, oh, well, I really wanted to go to Italy this year. Why didn't we do it? It's like, why? Because it conflicted with all of your goals.
Yeah, you've written it down. It's kind of a contract with yourself and your future self and your spouse in some ways. And it's like an accountability partner.
It's also help. Sorry, go ahead.
You got it.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Some of these you'll think in terms of the entire year. So like out of 52 weeks, I want to go to church 36 times, right? Or I want to go on date night 48 times. And sometimes it helps to think from like the year's perspective. Sometimes it helps to think more granularly from the day perspective and think, okay, well, I know that my mornings have been hectic because we just had a newborn. And I know that I realistically, when I look at my daily schedule, I can't work out 7 days a week. So I think like 3 days a week is realistic. And then in that case, you extrapolate to the larger year in perspective. But I think the majority of ours, we think from the big picture year, and then we break that down and we zoom in on that to say, okay, what does that mean our monthly cadence will look like and our weekly cadence will look like? And then we slap all those goals. So like every Sunday morning, we know we want to go to church. Every Thursday night, we want to go on date night. And then you're able to kind of plug and play these different goals into your normal cadence.
If you don't mind, what if we went through every category and gave them ideas of like what we put our goals around? They can be vague.
Yes, and this is also in the template.
Okay.
But each of the 12 categories has kind of subcategories as well. So let's just take finances, for example. What is our income going to be, right? Shawn and I own our own business. We have probably a little more flexibility on taking on more or less work, but still, even if you work a corporate job, you could take a side hustle if you know, like these are all goals that would be reflected in what do we want our goal income to be. We have goal investments. So we want to invest X dollar amount or percentage. Spending. Again, you could see the value in going back and reflecting on your budgets and saying, hey, we spent X amount last year. We spent this much on traveling, this much on groceries, this much on cars and insurance. And, it really kind of builds this fuller picture and also it gives it purpose too when you're like, hey, you know what? We spent more than we wanted to on travel, but it was worth it because we accomplished those travel goals and we sacrificed in these areas to make that happen. So we use different software to help pull his data. So like for sleep or physical metrics, I'll use Oura Ring or my Apple Watch numbers. For finances, we'll use what used to be Mint, but now is kind of Credit Karma or Monarch. There's a ton of software here for our charitable giving. We could probably talk more about this later, but the Donor Advised Fund has really organized our giving for us. Investments, we have our dashboard for our brokerage. Income, you have what?
Nothing. It's attractive. This is like your lane, and it's beautiful.
I can't believe that I know all this. So, but we've been doing it for so long.
I know.
Crazy. For travel, we'll go back and look at I'm going to keep going. We'll look at
we can bounce. We can bounce here.
You want the mic?
We can bounce. So I go for it. For travel, we each write out trips that we want to go on. So and we write out as detailed as I want to go on 2 full family trips where it's just all of us. I want to go on a trip where we bring all the extended family. I want to go on a trip with a friend, like just the girls, just the guys. We write out that.
It's great. And to debrief that or reflect on how we traveled the last year, we use our calendar. So we'll just kind of pull up our Apple calendar and say, oh, look, yeah, we had that blocked off. A lot of them come to mind quickly, like we're going to the Olympics, or this week's actually crazy. We got Salt Lake City, New York City, LA. It'll be crazy. Next, third category, family. So let's see, how many times we're going to go to church together? How many times are we going to take daddy-daughter dates? How many date nights are we going to take? How many homemade lunches are we going to make? Homemade dinners are we going to make? How many times am I going to call my mom? How many weekly debriefs are we going to do?
Are there any like family traditions that we want to implement within the year? Anything that we want to protect or get rid of? We even write down goals of like how many times do we want to be home putting the kids to bed? So that's always a great goal for us to look at in reflection to how much work we're taking on, how much travel we're taking on, because those can kind of conflict with each other.
And for the holiday traditions, we literally wrote out every single holiday. So Valentine's Day, St. Patty's, Easter, and where or what we want to do on that. We also do friends. So how many men's group meetings do I want to attend, or am I going to attend? I signed a contract for that. We could talk about that later. Men's retreats. How many meals with a friend am I going to have? How many game nights are we going to do?
Yep. So this is another one where we wrote goals down for how many game nights. We also put a dollar amount of like, what is our budget for that? So that went into the finance department as well for like budgeting and spending.
Game night actually was a fruit of our goals. I remember sitting there and you so excitingly saying you want to host big game nights once a year.
Yeah. Which we've been on like a 6 or 7 month hiatus.
We had a child, darling. We got to give ourselves
I'm itching to get back.
Next is marriage. So for this, it's like number of date nights, how we want those to look. So for this year that we're looking at, it was like alternating activity and restaurant.
We've also put within the marriage department in previous years, like how many times a year do we want to see a counselor? How many times a year do we want just a husband and wife getaway?
How many mornings a week are we going to read devotions?
Yeah.
How many bev times are we going to have? So Shawn and I, at the end of every night, will take 5 minutes, maybe sometimes it's an hour, to debrief what happened in the day, talk about this went well with the kids, this didn't, look out for this, it hurt my feelings when you did that, we need to take care of this tomorrow. And it's just like reconvening to prevent any buildup of any sort.
Next category, health and fitness. So these are like health and fitness goals. Fitness goals.
Fitness. What's your goal weight? How many?
Wait, how do you say fitness?
You're saying it right. I'm saying you're thinking fitness.
Well, I was like, my brain just completely.
I felt that.
Yeah.
Like things went dim there for
it
a
glitched.
second.
I glitched. But yeah, any type of health and fitness goals that we have, this is always really cool for Andrew and I to see and reflect on for each other, because this is how I know as a wife to best support him and vice versa.
So for this year, I wanted to do a competition a month, whether I was like go-kart, CrossFit, softball, ping pong, whatever. How many times I want to work out per week. I wrote I wanted to exercise. One of those workouts per week is with a friend. Shawn's here was have a healthy pregnancy.
Mine was to get pregnant. My goal this past year was to get pregnant and to go about the entire pregnancy in a healthy way. And that was with an asterisk of like making sure I eat healthy.
Iron levels,
gestational diabetes,
7th category is philanthropy. So in 2023, one of our goals was to start a foundation. We wanted to visit a children's hospital a certain amount of times. We wanted to do a family missions trip
to Tijuana.
Yeah.
The next category for us is home. Like, is there anything we want to do or change at home as far as, projects, DIY,
remodels? We said finish the curtains. We said establish and agree on a clear monthly budget, finish the garage gym. That was last year's.
Yeah.
Next is faith. Again, so this goes back to...
There's overlap.
This goes back to like family. But I said I wanted to go to church 3 times a month. Shawn said she wanted to pray before every dinner and then teach Drew the Lord's Prayer. Mission accomplished.
Which she knows. So does Jet.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Next up is business. So there's a lot of overlap here, but also we do this as a company now, which is pretty cool. So we will do like a full day retreat with our company and do long goals, reflections to make sure we're on the same track. But business here, we just put like work retreats that we had goals around. We wanted to start a newsletter, any like major goals we have within, the business department.
Yeah. And to expand on that, so like we were talking earlier, zooming in, zooming out, or becoming more granular. This is the only thing I learned from taking college calculus many times because I failed it. But, when you take the integral of something, that means breaking it up into different smaller pieces.
Yep.
And with all of these, it's just kind of bucketing certain parts of your life that you can then break into smaller pieces that then makes it more likely that you'll accomplish it. So with business, Shawn and I will kind of come up with the high level goals, and then we'll get the company together and go through those, get their perspectives and insight, and then it becomes like everyone's on the same page business wise. I know not everybody runs their own business, but that's how we do it, and it's been fun.
And then the last 2 categories are my personal favorites.
Okay.
Which is personal. And this is always fun. You never know what you're going to hear from the other person on this. From our history, I feel like this is always like, didn't know that. But this also shows a lot of insight into like how I can be a supportive wife. Andrew will say things like, I want to read a book a week. So when I see him then that year spending a lot of his free time reading books, I'm like, oh, this is part of his goal, whatever. I had a goal this past year where I wanted to get 2 tattoos.
And you got 4.
I think I got more than that. I wanted to do this year, a goal of mine was to do a new vision board. So We can do another episode about that. But we do a big family vision board that overlooks like the next 20 years instead of a more granular annual.
And I'll talk about that after we finish this last category of kids.
Yes.
And personal and kids are less quantifiable. So like
Yeah.
one of mine was supplements are something I take really seriously. And it's important to me that the supplements I take are of the highest quality. That's why for over 4 years, I've been drinking AG1. Unlike many supplement brands, AG1 is researched and developed by an in-house team of scientists, doctors, and nutritionists with decades of experience in their respective fields.
We trust this company because quality for AG1 isn't just a buzzword, it's a commitment backed by expert-led scientific research, high-quality ingredients, industry-leading manufacturing, and rigorous testing. At each step of the process, AG1 goes above and beyond industry standards.
I know I can trust what's in every scoop of AG1 because it's tested for 950 contaminants and banned substances, while the industry standard typically only tests for 10.
Wow.
Which is honestly pretty sad.
Taking care of my health shouldn't be complicated, and AG1 simplifies this by covering my nutritional bases and setting myself up for success in literally just 60 seconds. AG1's ingredients are heavily researched for quality, and I love that every scoop also includes prebiotics, probiotics, and digestive enzymes for gut support.
We've partnered with AG1 for so long because they make such a high quality product that we genuinely look forward to drinking every day.
So, if you want to replace your multivitamin and more, start with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 and K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first subscription at drinkag1.com/couplethings.
That's drinkag1.com/couplethings. Check it out. I wanted to focus on transparency and grace with truth with Shawn and my close friends. That's not quantifiable.
Yeah.
But, and some of the stuff with the kids, it's less, but still it's worth writing down because then it helps you think about, did I get closer to that or no? So with kids, it was like create seasonal traditions for our family that we then do, finish the playroom, daddy-daughter date for Valentine's Day. Yours were?
Helping Jet learn 100 words, finish potty training, transition Drew into a big girl bed, transition Jet into a big boy bed. Just like little things that very easily could be forgot of.
So you can kind of see how we assemble our life as we want it. You probably just got some insight into what Shawn and I value based off what we just said. Were, again, that's probably 10% of what we wrote down. But you start assembling your life piece by piece, and it's like pretty exciting to then fast forward 5 years, 8 years, and say, holy smokes, we're way closer to that than we want. We, on the vision board side of things, it is important, I think, to have like a tangible picture that makes things more clear of what these goals will look like. So like, we wanted to start a foundation. What do I have in mind when I think foundation? Well, let me look at the Tim Tebow Foundation and the gala that they have. Yeah, I want that, right? And it's like you start seeing extensions of your dream. And so then we take these goals, find pictures that represent those goals as we see them, and put them on a vision board, which I've included in the template. And some are just logos like of our church. Some are like pictures of properties. But it's really, I have, Herschel Walker, who's like this shredded 55-year-old. And it's like, okay, well, I want to look like that this year. But you at least see what I value and am aiming towards ultimately. We also will have a annual theme that we place on the year. So we say we want to prioritize our family and making an impact in everything we do. That was 2023's. You can also, last thing, create a paragraph statement for if I achieve all these goals in my finance bucket this year, this is what my life will look like. And then it's almost like a journal entry from your future self about how things currently look fast forwarded. Was that a lot? That felt like a lot.
I think it was a lot, and I really hope it makes sense. I think one of the coolest things, too, that happens when you do this is when you get to the new year or whenever you do these and you reflect on what you've done in a whole year, I feel like a lot of times you can get to the end of a year and think that you didn't do much, you didn't grow much, you didn't change much. But to walk through all of those, especially like in the kids department, and be like, oh, Jet definitely learned 100 words. We potty trained both kids. They're both in new beds. It's like, it's a great way to look at your life and be like, I'm doing something.
Yeah.
I have made these, milestone steps or successes, and it's really cool. It makes you feel accomplished.
One thing I've learned in my doctorate is that there is such thing as psychological momentum too. And so when you however incremental that accomplishment was, when you look back and say, wow, we are doing something, that then equips you in a meaningful way to do more things.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you're freaking going for it, dude.
You are.
It's really fun. That's always a treat to look back on.
Yeah. I'm really hoping that you guys do this because it is really cool. It's really fun to dream. It's really fun to like truly direct your life in an intentional way towards what you want. And it's really cool when you sit down for the first time to either realize you're living the life that you really want, or you have the potential to make changes to get the life that you want.
I love how you said that, because it's not like there should be nothing sad about this.
No.
It's more just like staring reality in the face, and then also the excitement of, oh wait, I want to make a change.
Yeah.
And I have the ability to do that. And I honestly believe that each of us was put here on the earth for a reason, and we have good that we can contribute. I think it's beautiful when you have the confidence to actually go take a step towards that. Maybe this system helps you do that. Maybe it doesn't. Whatever floats your boat, go do it. Go get that confidence, because the world needs you, and God put you here for a reason. So I love it. This also serves for us as some type of journal, I feel like. And there's this Japanese concept of the misogi, where each year is defined by one massive thing. And I feel like our misogis are revealed as we do this. And it's like we can look back on 2018 and say that was the year we accomplished the NFL dream. 2019 was the year that we started our family. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's cool to see the big benchmark things that happen year after year after year. Anyway, it is, people are always surprised at how much they can do in a year, but they're often overconfident in how much they can do in a day. So it's all about stacking habits incrementally, day after day after day, and you can achieve wild things. That's all I got. I don't think I have any more tangents.
Mic drop. That's all we got.
Check out the link. Sorry for my ridiculous outfit. I'll just show you that one more time, just in case you were annoyed.
It makes me I want to fix it for you. I want to take a needle to it, and I want to drain it.
Don't do that, please. That sounds painful. If you have questions about this, let us know. And let us know if you want to hear our hot takes on anything else. That's all we got. I'm Andrew.
I'm Shawn.
We're the East Fam. Out.